Well, reactions continue to trail that postponement, and yeah, people have a right to their views, and it's our job to bring you those views. Well, let's get to Abuja now, and it's someone that is starting from where it all began, from INEC. Markwe?
I was thinking you're going to say it began all in Abuja. Well, you will not be wrong. It didn't begin here. It began at the INEC office. But we have here with us this morning Mr. Rotimi Oyekomi, who is the Chief Press Secretary to the INEC Chairman. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. Good
morning. Well, some Nigerians will wonder if it's a good morning for them. I mean, it's been a really tough weekend, some sort of anticlimax. People were expecting to go out to the polls on Saturday morning, and lo and behold, Friday night, the news broke that INEC was in some meeting. It was a meeting of the commissioners, and the discussion was centered around whether or not the polls would be postponed, which came to some people as a shock of some sort, because they had been assured and reassured that the polls would go on Saturday as scheduled. What was the reason for the meeting?
Thank you very much. INEC was prepared fully for the election, and we had mobilized everything that we had. It was unfortunate that the delivery of materials to certain areas could not be achieved. And part of that was due to the bad weather. We had a few places where we couldn't get the materials to. And you know, we have 119,973 polling units, and elections must take place simultaneously in all the polling units. So the choice was, do we now conduct election in certain areas and leave certain areas out? That will not be acceptable. Of course, the backlash of that will be bad. So up to the point when the commission took that decision, we had hope that we could still get on with it, until it became very clear that we cannot cover the entire country as a single constituency for the presidential election. That was why that very painful decision had to be taken. And that was how the announcement was made.
Well, I'm letting you explain that again for the benefit of Nigerians who did not listen to the brief by the INEC chairman on Saturday evening. But then questions people have asked on the back of that briefing is, one, when did INEC know that the weather was bad enough or was so bad that they could not get all the materials down to all the polling units where they needed to be deployed to? At what time did they take that decision, to eventually hold the meeting and see the status of things before they eventually decided to suspend the polls Friday night or midnight Saturday?
Well, the issue of weather started about 3 days to the election. And when we noticed that, the action we took was to now ask the trucks, these long haulage trucks, to ferry those materials to those places. But they are slow moving. And of course, the state of our roads, some of these areas are not so motorable, and they were slow. So the time frame for getting from the airport, for getting to those areas was the issue. They couldn't get there. And of course, if you get there, you offload the materials, you have to sort them out, you have to put everything in place. The time required showed that if we had continued, polls wouldn't open at 8 a.m. We'll probably be thinking of 12 or 1, and that would mean that activities will go on late into the night or the next morning. So we just looked at it and decided that, well, the best option, which was very painful, I repeat that, a very difficult decision, was to postpone.
I'm seeing this tweet here. I don't know if you have come across it, which was reportedly from the Minister of State for Aviation. Have you come across it?
No, I haven't.
It says INEC should say something else, as weather was good for flight operations on eve of elections. Similarly, all airports were directed to open 24 hours during the election period. I don't know how true this tweet is, because this is not from a verified handle. But I also see that the papers are reporting it this morning. They say the weather was fine.
Well, I don't know why that tweet was thrown there. But we cannot say whether it was bad when it was good. I mean, this is an election that we have prepared for over for 3 to 4 years.
Because people have talked about all sorts of permutations. You can see, you know, politicians throwing the blame around. Oh, it's because INEC is now collaborating with PDP. Oh, no, it's because, you know, the APC did not want the elections to go on. They were not ready. They had been pressured, blah, blah, blah. Some people were even saying something to the effect that some people had predicted that there was going to be a postponement as early as Friday morning, but those posts were deleted. You've heard all of those controversies. Can INEC really say we're not aware, or we choose not to pay any attention to some of this, you know, talk around the corner? Well,
you know, INEC doesn't join issues with politicians. We just focus on our activity, on our mandate. We have these elections to conduct, and we have that responsibility to prepare for the election. So we don't join issues. The truth of the matter is that we tried everything humanly possible. We discovered that we cannot deliver critical election materials to particular places, and we needed to do that before.
Can you tell us the states involved? Because you said that your long haulage trucks needed to leave. First, there'll be the question of INEC's logistics in logistic plans. Some people say that if you're planning logistics, this material should have been there at least 2 days, at the very least 2 days before the election. Some people say that there's supposed to be a review 2 days before the election by INEC to see where they were 2 days before the main day of the polls. That it is a little tardy for INEC to come on the night before, just a few hours before the polls were to open, to say now the polls have been postponed. How do you respond to those people, especially with INEC, with regards to INEC's internal logistics planning?
Let me give you a sense of the elections we are planning for. We have about 6 elections to conduct, right? Presidential, National Assembly, which should have taken place last Saturday. Then we have the governorship, State Assembly, and the Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections. We have about 91 political parties. We have over 84 million voters. We printed over 420 million ballot papers for these elections. And you can imagine the quantum of what we have to deliver. We mobilize all national assets. INEC doesn't have an aircraft. We have vehicles, yes, but we don't have enough vehicles to take these materials to the entire country. This country is huge. Even in this Federal Capital Territory, there are areas that are not motorable. You can't drive up to some hills. You have to take other options to do that. So the logistics of doing all of that, well, it's not something that is beyond us, but sometimes the enormity of what we have to do sometimes slow things down. And like I said, it's not that we were tardy, as some would say, or it's not that there was influence from somewhere. I can assure Nigerians that no, we are not under anybody's influence. It just happened, and it was unfortunate. We were prepared, but this just little hiccup was the issue. Now, like I said, the option was, do we conduct the election in about 90% of the country and leave 10% out? We couldn't have done that, because that would mean we resort to staggered elections. And what would Nigerians say? People will read meaning to all of that as well, you know. So we just had to take that decision.
When you look at, I mean, that hasn't quite answered the question on logistics. At what point do you think that INEC should have gotten to say, at this point, if we have not been able to achieve this by this time, then it is time for us to say, look, Nigerians, we don't think